Hey everybody, here's a few thoughts that I wanted to post up on Blues for Alice, which was one of the tunes from assignment 1 this week. After reading through your answers or your submissions, whatever you want to call them, there were a few things that at least I wanted to bring up to just kind of put my take on the tunes and maybe address a couple of points that weren't necessarily brought up that I guess I feel would be important to at least highlight. And I'm going to do it in a way that I guess addresses the modules that Dennis has up on the website. So for anybody who had form and structure as part of theirs, so these would be all under module 2. Pretty much everybody caught that it's a bird blues, which is its own unique form, where the 1 chord and the 5 chord are major 7th chords. There's a cycle of 2 5s throughout, but bird blues is its own particular form, which most of you obviously know already. Regarding field changes and breaks in other devices, there's several recordings of this online, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your music. Pretty much everybody plays this as a straight ahead swung tune. There's not, if you're going to call it Blues for Alice, it's not like you're really interpreting how, I guess, you're going to interpret this tune from a rhythmic or from a feel perspective. And I think that as students of analysis, that's something that really strikes me. If something just kind of falls into, I guess, a preconceived notion of how you're going to play it, I think as arrangers, that's something that we need to be aware of and maybe use that as the fuel to create something new. For a tune like Blues for Alice, I was purposefully looking for maybe a straight 8th version, or maybe some sort of a bossa nova, or maybe an odd meter version of Blues for Alice. And I'm not saying I put hours and hours worth of research in on it, but when you do your first basic search of this tune, you're going to find obviously Charlie Parker playing it and other people playing this tune in the same or in a similar style as what Bird played. So again, from an analysis point of view, something that I take from Blues for Alice from the form and structure perspective, there's no field changes. There's not really breaks or other devices. So if I were going to arrange a tune like this, something that I guess I would initially use as part of my web or my brainstorm session would be, maybe there are some ways that I can change up the feel in a tune like this, or ways that I can add in a break or something else of that nature, kind of like a Horace Silver idea, as a way to at least shake up the monotony of what you would expect on a tune like Blues for Alice. Regarding primary structure points, I think that, at least in my opinion, it's pretty much the same as a straight ahead blues, where you have bars 1 and 5 as pretty strong and important structured bars of the blues, and because it's a blues, obviously 12 bar length. In module 3, the style analysis comes in here, and I was talking about this a little bit before about how the feel is pretty much swung the whole way through. Great way, in my opinion, to use that as a fuel to do your own thing, to break away from the norm. Again, just for the basic idea of doing Blues for Alice as a cha-cha. Or if you're going to play Blues for Alice up, just being perceptive of the metric modulations that can occur, right? So, for example, let's say that you're going to play Blues for Alice at around 200 beats a minute, right? Like a medium up, to an up tune. Well, the basic way to divide that would be to cut it in half, where if you were going to cut that, obviously down to halftime, it's going to be at 100 beats per minute. Well, what styles exist at around 100 beats per minute? A shuffle, like a slower shuffle, could exist at 100. Funk can exist at 100. Something in the bossa world can exist at 100. If you divide it into three or into quarter note triplets, right? So if you're playing at 200, so ding 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 ding, and you start to feel it in three or in divisions of three, that's going to slow the tempo down a little bit. And using a device like, a division of three, let's say, where you have a quarter note triplet to create a new pulse to slow the time down, that could put you in a different metronomic, or metronomic, I think would be the word. It would put you in a different place from a feel perspective. And instead of playing now at 200, maybe using the quarter note triplet gets you into the 140 range, which brings on a different set of grooves that really sit well at a certain tempo. So there's ways that you can use rhythm and feel to, inform different grooves and different styles. Something that I'll get into more, and I think we did it. Oh no, we haven't done it with this crew yet. But we're going to get to Sister Sadie later on in this, in the way this course rolls out. And the SF Jazz Collective is a group which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, but they have an incredible version of Sister Sadie where they're able to use metric modulation to create completely different grooves throughout the entire piece. And again, getting back to my original point, on a tune like Blues for Alice, which so many people play straight ahead and just swung, there's plenty of room for innovation and, change for a tune that carries with it such a strong tradition of being swung. So, the modules that are here, the grooves, the styles, all that, I think there's so much room for innovation with regards to that. The baseline contribution, I'm on 3/3 now, very straight ahead, as most of you caught and pointed out. And some of you also said that the rhythm section's main responsibility here is to swing and just be straight ahead all the way through. And that's what's happened. When you find these, this is just what they do. This is just what they do. I think that's a great spot that can inform, a different way of thinking. What can the rhythm section do differently as opposed to just playing straight ahead and swung on a tune like this? Where you give them these written hits as opposed to just playing straight ahead time all the way through. You can use tradition and expectation as a way to break away from the monotony of things. The ending on this one, the bird one, where he just repeats the riff, over and over at the end, that last little motif of the melody. Again, that is material for when songs end from an arranging point of view. You can also use that material as introduction into a chart as well. That that repetitive little motif at the end. You can use that as material to introduce Blues for Alice as well. If you were arranging this for a combo, for octet, big band, whatever it is. So paying attention to the endings can be a great way to come up with introduction material as well for an arrangement, or for even your own pieces as well. Play a tune, play your own composition, notice how you end. Well, maybe the ending of that is actually how you want to start, to put a little bit of continuity on the piece. Excuse me, just grabbing a cup of coffee. Okay, with regards to harmonic analysis, I'm on module 4 now. A lot of you pointed out that the cycle harmony, how it moves through 2/5s, which is all, that's just what the form is. Chord substitutions. I guess I'll go through modal harmony. No. Bright to dark. No. This is not the right style for that. Stagnant harmony. No, not necessarily this particular composition. Chord substitutions, obviously from a traditional bridge. What's happening here is instead of the one chord as a dominant lasting for 4 bars, the 2/5s create harmonic motion to get you to measure 5. And in the module, again, the purpose of using chord substitutions is because it's going to take you somewhere. I'm going to get back to that in a second as another vehicle for, I guess, an idea to do something different with this tune. To module 4/7, the pedal usage, we don't necessarily hear it too much in this particular composition. The harmonic rhythm is primarily 2 chords per bar, cyclic based with the cycle progressions, and primarily moving in 2/5/1s. There are a couple of landing spots where the tonality does last for a full measure, and it's interesting because even just a 2 beats difference at that tempo, when you get to bars 1, 5, and 9, where the harmony lasts for an entire bar, there is a certain feeling of rest or repose where you get to those bars and you have, I have a little bit of time to breathe. And it's only 2 beats difference. But when the majority of the chart is moving twice as fast harmonically, it doesn't matter proportionally whether it's like, for example, last semester, right, we did Speak No Evil. Or no, we did Fee Fi Fo Fum, right, whichever one it was. I think it was Fee Fi Fo Fum, where the harmony on the A sections, where it starts, it's E flat dominant, D7 alt, so on and so forth. And the harmony moves every 2 bars, or every 2 beats, excuse me. And then when you get to the bridge or the B section, you have full 2-bar sections on B flat 7 and E flat 7. And you feel this great sense of, oh man, I can really sink my teeth into this harmony now. I'm not kind of like running through the gauntlet of harmony. The same thing can even happen here on a Bird Blues, where the tempo's flying, but even just for 2 extra beats, I at least get the sense that you've got time to rest and time to kind of soak into those 3 particular chords. 4/9, identifying the tonal centers, not necessarily something with the Bird Blues. I guess, maybe there could be some bracketing that goes on where the tonality of F kind of rings through for the first 4 bars and you can play F. But I think, and this is just my opinion, that the sound of Bird Blues comes from making the turnarounds that exist in bars 2, 3, and 4. That's kind of what gives this particular version of the blues its own unique sound. This one I think is kind of interesting, the peak, the harmonic peak of the blues. And normally it's found in bar 8, the way that Denny has his module laid out. And what I think is kind of interesting about that is that if that happens to be the harmonic peak, where there's the most tension in the progression, it's interesting that it comes after consecutive falling 2/5s chromatically. And I think that something that a peak, even just from an architectural point of view, is the peak is leading up somewhere. Right? The peak of a mountain is the tip of it, and the entire way up is the climb. If bar 8 of blues is the harmonic peak, I find it really interesting and unique that leading up to that particular peak are descending chromatic 2/5s. Now, perhaps through the use of melody, you can create a melodic peak, but I do find it a little interesting. Well, I shouldn't say a little. That concept is ringing with me. The fact that a harmonic peak could happen when falling chromatically. I think that's really, that's got me on something. I'm not sure what it is, but I I like the thought of that, how a peak could be approached by something higher. The cadence points on this one. Again, I think bars 1 and 5, when you're dealing with the blues, are very significant cadence points. But when you're working with the blues, because the form again has been so ingrained into our skulls and our ears, I think you have access to move some of these cadence points and rely on the strength of us knowing what a 12-bar blues sounds like over and over. The comfort of that can allow us to shift some of these primary cadence points. An example would be, and I'm going to go back to the chord substitutions here for a second. Here's an idea that I'm just kind of scratching out on paper as I'm talking to you right now. But if we take Bird Blues, right, where you have F major 7 for a bar, E minor 7 flat 5, A7 flat 9, bar 2. Bar 3, D minor 7, G7, C minor 7, F7. Now, in Bird Blues, normally in bar 5 we get back to B flat major 7. What if we didn't? What if we continue this cycle of 2 5s? And instead of resolving to B flat major, we resolve to B flat minor 7. And keep the 2 5 going. So bar 5 is going to be B flat minor 7, E flat dominant 7. And I'm going to keep going. A flat minor 7, D flat dominant 7 in bar 6. Bar 7, I'm going to make my primary cadence point. And I'm going to call bar 7 G flat major 7. And I'm going to let that last for 2 bars. Bar 9, I get back to G minor 7, and my tune goes out the same way that it did before. Because you have a form like the blues, which is 12 bars long, the strength and the consistency of that allows you the opportunity to get a little bit creative with where the primary focus points or where the primary cadence points can be. So by going with the motion that's already been in place, not using bar 5 as my, let's call it, primary cadence point, but using bar 7, I'm using the strength of the 2 5 to keep that chromatic, or to keep that progression going. F major 7, E minor 7 flat 5, A7 flat 9, so on and so forth. D minor 7, G7, C minor 7, F7 is the end of bar 4. Bar 5, B flat minor 7, E flat dominant 7. Bar 6, A flat minor 7, D flat dominant 7. G flat major 7, bars 7 and 8. And in those bars, I could put in some sort of break. I could put in some sort of specific rhythm section device where it gets them out of just playing the time over and over. And again, this is just looking at it from a harmonic point of view. So the melody would obviously be a consideration for how I would either need to rework the melody to adjust to this harmony, and vice versa too. As we get into some of the melody stuff, there's ways that you can adjust the melody to get you or to inform new harmony, which I think we talked a bunch about that with Wayne Shorter. But it's a way that on a blues that you can create new material. And it's not just, oh, we're playing blues for Alice, let's just go straight ahead and swing. When you have something that's this consistent and this storied in tradition, you have to use that. Well, you don't have to, but you can use it as a way to generate some new thought about where peaks can be and where primary cadence points can be. So that's just one example. There's a bunch more. I'm sure you can think of some yourselves, but I wanted to at least highlight those points. The last module that Denny has is for melodic analysis. And out of the ones that he has lyrical, line-based, note choice based on the chord at the moment, the shapes, and then directional shapes. I found this one to be more line-based, as much of the bird tunes are, where they almost seem like improvised solos, more so than something lyrical or written with words, written for a show, anything like that. So that's how, at least I would interpret the melody to this. And because there's so much vocabulary in the melody, it does make reharmonization a little bit more of a challenge, just to accommodate everything that's in there. So, yeah, as you'll see with some of the other melodies, they're not going to be in the same style as something like this. But, not that one is necessarily better than the other. But I think that it's important to analyze, as you did, what type of melody this is, and how, a tune like Blues for Alice, more importantly, you can use tradition to inform new ways to approach tunes like this. All right. So, anywho, those are some Blues for Alice thoughts. And I'm going to post up one for Mean to Me and one for Silver Serenade as well. All right, guys. Thanks. Hope this works. And if you happen to make it all the way through and get to here, let me know if what you think of the audio files. I would do a video file, but it's 4 o'clock in the morning right now, Eastern Standard Time, and I haven't had a chance to do my hair, and I'm a little self-conscious about it. So I'm just going to work with the audio files for now. All right, everybody. Peace.